don't even know what to say. I haven't even kept up with this video thing. But I've been living on my school bus, my Skoolie, since the end of September, and came up on 100 days around my birthday in January. It is now June, no, it's not June yet, it's May 26th, I believe, Friday, and I'm just loving it because it's warm. I had a really, really difficult winter because I didn't have a good heating system set up. So I managed to get through it. I'm sure like a lot of it was psychological, although it was really cold. I did manage to kind of wrap my brain around the fact that I was colder than I was used to being for most of the time, and figuring out ways to deal with it. And hopefully next winter I won't be suffering through the same temperature inside the bus. Sometimes I'd wake up and my hair was frozen to the window, or I mean, it was a good day when I could actually breathe out and not see my breath, even if it was cold. If I didn't see my breath, I was pretty happy. My kitties learned how to get under the covers all by themselves, so they didn't suffer at all. They were very, very comfortable, and they grew really thick coats, all of them. Now they're shedding like crazy. I have to brush them every day because they get hairballs, and my long-haired one, especially Stewie, he's prone to hairballs, and he's really fluffy. It's thinning out now. Dora, she's just a hairy cat, and she's always shedding no matter what. So they've actually not sort of been phased by it. They've adapted to the smaller space, and they've adapted to being closer to each other, and their dynamic is similar to what it was when we were in a big apartment, but now it seems they're much better behaved. Some of their bad habits, like marking their territory and pooping in places they shouldn't, that's not happening. And I think it's probably because it's a smaller space and they don't want to smell it, so it's not like they can get away from it. They've all been using the litter box. I've been keeping it really clean. The composting toilet was a learning curve. There was like some design flaws when I first had it, in place, for which I've, compensated and repaired and done other things. And I recently purchased a professionally made fiberglass separator for my homemade toilet, which is awesome and I love it, but I'm actually having to get used to it because it's a different dimension than the one I had homemade. So it's like kind of weird to talk about, but you have to learn exactly where to sit on the toilet, especially for females, because everything's kind of close together. So moving along. I've had visits from various people who are very curious about what I'm doing. I've been parked in the same place pretty much since November. Not like the exact same location, but moving around the same neighborhood, which is crossed between Williamsburg and Greenpoint. And for the most part, I've had really, really good luck and kind people, either just leaving me alone or being curious and knocking on the door and saying, "Hey, what are you doing? What's this?" Kind of curious. I decided to put my information on the outside of the bus because I wanted people to feel that it wasn't anything weird or creepy or shady or like scary. That I wasn't trying to pick up children or something. I mean, it's a school bus. That was one thing that somebody had said to me when I was actually parked in front of a school. They said, "You should move a little bit farther away from the school because people are going to think you're trying to lure children into the bus." And I understood, so I did. I haven't really been parking around schools much, unless it was, just for a day or two. I met two people who are doing the tiny home on wheels thing. One has also got a Skoolie, and they're in Manhattan. They saw me when I was parked on the Upper West Side, and really excited to meet another person who's doing a Skoolie in New York City. And there was another neighbor in Williamsburg who's been parked in New York City since November as well. They moved up from Colorado, and they have a step van, and we actually kind of hung out on each other's tiny homes like a couple days ago. We were showing each other like what we've been doing and what, how we make do with certain things, and offered to help each other. So I have a feeling that I wasn't the first Skoolie in New York City, or Williamsburg for that matter, because I did some research and I found out there was Skoolies here before, but since then they've left. I mean, years ago. And I don't really know where they are right now. Kind of got in touch and they gave me a little bit of advice, and it was great. And sort of like, just keep moving. Don't stay in one spot. Don't be conspicuous. So, yeah. I do my job a couple days a week, sometimes more, occasionally less. It's a school nurse job, and it's about to end because summer's, about to start, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be going in for the 2 camp weeks that they have, but now my theater group has started back up again, so I still have a bit of an income, but I have to now figure out different ways to make money. I was thinking of maybe taking on a 13-week nurse assignment, and it's going to be stressful if I do, but I could do it and probably pay off like a couple of credit cards or all my credit cards, and for that alone it would be worth it. But I'm trying not to do nursing as much. I have it as a backup, but I'm an artist and I really prefer, unless it's a really like sweet assignment like I have with the school nursing thing, I really like my assignment. Unless it's something that is low stress, I really don't want to do it. I mean, my life's changed a lot since I've moved on to this tiny home, in a good way. My stress levels have gone down a lot. The only thing I get stressed out about, I think, is like the moment before I see my school bus and I don't see it, and I think it's somewhere where I parked it and it's not, and then I'm like, oh no, it was towed, or can't even think about it. Just an awful thought. I mean, I don't like getting tickets, and I've only gotten maybe 2 tickets. One was legit, one was not, and I'm fighting both of them. Why not? I've paid so many tickets when it was actually registered as a school bus, because they were ticketing me for parking in residential areas and things like that, even though it was a tiny home, and it's the same exact thing as it is now. It just had a different registration. I was ticketed for my BB plates. Now I have personal plates. So that was a big deal. I'm glad I eventually just bit the bullet and ran into the DMV one day and actually got a ticket when I went into the DMV for parking at one of those 2-hour meters as a school bus. They figured that I was taking up too many parking spaces. Anyway, got that done. The other thing that I had to get done, which was a huge expense, was I had to get a new gas tank, because when I bought the bus, they'd patched the gas tank temporarily, and I didn't know until about a week later that I had a really bad case of rust and pinhole leaks. So to my credit, I did check underneath, but the way that the gas tank is in this bus, it's in a kind of a metal cradle, so you can't exactly see the gas tank. You can only see part of it, and the part I saw didn't look too bad. and it wasn't leaking when I bought it, and then it began to leak in July. I bought it in June. So that was about a couple $1,000s to fix, to get a new one. I actually got a brand new one. I went to the Thomas. I mean, I'd been searching for the entire time for a used gas tank because I wanted to save money, of course, and I was going to have, like, try and go the cheap route. But for something like that, I think it's very important to do it right. Now, I googled Thomas bus dealers and I found a great place in Saratoga Springs, and they said to me, it's really our busy season, but we'll take you in. They did it in a day. They're so wonderful. They took us to the mall, dropped us off. My son and I went to see a movie, Beauty and the Beast, and then they picked us up when the thing was done and paid the bill and drove off with a wonderfully solid, perfectly brand new gas tank. And I haven't been, I think it was so worth it. I just can't even describe, because all winter long I was putting a basin underneath the gas tank to catch the drips of the fuel, the diesel. I didn't want it to go onto the road. I didn't want to get in trouble for it going onto the road. I didn't want to lose gas, so I would strain it and reuse it. It was a tedious, just messy process. But I'm sure I saved a little bit of gas by doing that. Now I don't have to do that anymore. Oh my God. If I had been able to do that at the beginning of winter, it would have been so much better, because trying to get that thing under there when there's a big pile of snow in the way or it's just cold out, I won't ever have to do that again because my tank's brand new and it'll probably last the life of the bus. So anyway, those are some things I've been dealing with. And I kept a journal for the first 100 days of everything that happened and where I parked and how I got to be, in a certain place. So I guess the journal goes up to my birthday, 2017, January 3rd, and which is when I turned 54. I don't feel 54, but I am. Anyway, my kitty's distracting me. My son has come onto the bus like at least once or twice a week, and it's a really big change for us because he was living with me 70% of the time before I moved onto the bus, and just for kind of like consistency for him, I decided to let him stay with his dad, which isn't ideal for us, I don't think, or him, or even his dad, because his dad's not used to having him around that much, so they just don't do anything. But anyway, it's another story. He's consistent. He's got a routine. He is, there's somebody looking at my bus. He's going to school and coming back on a routine basis, so I think that counts for a lot. And my son's 16, so it's not like he's a little tiny kid who needs to have me around 100% of the time or 70% of the time, whatever it was. He doesn't even need his dad around that much. He's very like independent. He's got his own thing going on. He's got a group of friends. He's got a social life. He's an artist, really like self-taught, amazing artist. Great imagination, very intelligent. And I still do things like I go to parent-teacher conferences. I get notices from the school. I make decisions. Recently there was a meeting over giving him certain test time, extra test time and a half, which he doesn't technically need, but he used to need it, and now they determined he doesn't need it, but he's going to get to keep it. And I was part of that decision-making process. So yeah, and you know, taking him to the doctor when he needs to, and dentist. I mean, insurance is all under me anyway. So even though I don't see him as much, I don't even think his dad really sees him as much, even though they're together more often. It's just a weird change not having my kids around all of a sudden. I mean, my oldest daughter's married and she's got her own business, and she moved out when she was like 18, moved back for a little bit, and then moved out again. But she's been pretty independent since then. She's almost 25. And my middle child moved out last year before we moved onto the bus. And she's also got her own apartment, her own life, and her own, job and everything. So, I mean, I was thinking about this, like, how is this, like, empty nest time in my life different than it would be for anybody else? I'm living on a bus and it's tiny, and I've actually condensed my life into a 200-foot square space, but I've also expanded my life to wherever I want to go. And my kids come with me on the bus, sometimes to different places. We all made a family trip to the Adirondacks last year, and it was a beautiful, like, mini vacation. My second daughter has been in a play with me, so we go up to Connecticut, and she comes onto the bus. Sometimes we sleep on the bus. Her boyfriend's been on the bus. They've slept on the bus. My son comes to visit, and he stays on the bus with me, like, say, for a whole weekend or a day or two. And we go places, like we went to New Paltz last weekend. He's not feeling well right now. He's got a cough, so he's staying back at his dad's today. But we were going to go away this weekend. So even though I see him less, when we do see each other, it's super duper awesome quality time. And we do things together that maybe if we had all this time together, we just wouldn't do anything. Like, you know, sit around and watch TV, you know, say, oh, you know, is your homework done? I still do that, but, you know, he's pretty good about doing his homework. So anyway, so I should probably wrap this up. It's coming up to 17, 18 minutes. And, I should do more updates, keep everything kind of like current. But it's a beautiful day. It's a little overcast, patchy sun coming in. The bus warmed up beautifully today. It was a little chilly last night, but I was cozy with the kitties. I'd actually rather be this temperature than... That guy came around twice. He's looking at me again. Oh God. Alright, the temperature now is probably great. I'm dreading the deep summer a little bit because it's probably going to be super hot on the bus, and I have to figure out something for temperature control. But we have our wood burning stove in, finally. I have to get the outer stuff like the flange and the chimney, and then we're going to cut a hole in the roof and install everything so that I can actually burn. He's so weird. Burn dry wood, so that I can keep warm in the winter. You know, take the chill off, dry it up in here. Propane heat, fuck it, so bad. It just puts like condensation on the windows, and the next day you have frozen ice on the inside of your windows. So hopefully I'll never have to deal with that again. I do cook with propane. I have to find a way to vent it to the outside when I am cooking, but for now I just open a window, and I have a carbon monoxide detector. So that only went off once, and that was when I was burning it for the old heater. I mean, the propane heater burned it for too long, and I had open all the windows. Kind of defeated the purpose. So anyway, I will get back and do this again soon.